If you want to bring about change, you have to change people's minds. If everybody believes the world should be one way and you disagree, throwing bricks at them and beating them, it's not going to change their mind. It would stand that by meeting with people and communicating with them and trying to explain to them why they don't understand or what information they're lacking, you might slowly convince people to actually agree with you. And you might actually convince politicians to vote in favor of your ideas. So naturally then, when someone like Bill Nye attends the State of the Union address with a Republican, people should be happy. Bill Nye is a science advocate who he's very much aligned with what we would describe as the left, and meeting with a Republican is a chance for Bill Nye to share ideas and help change the mind of a Republican. So you'd think people would be happy about it, right? No, I think everyone kind of gets where this went, because now Bill Nye is being thrown under the bus. A blog was written in Scientific American calling out Bill Nye, saying he's not a scientist and he has no right to speak on behalf of the scientific community. But before I get into that, let me give a shout out to today's sponsor, all of you guys. If you haven't already, go to patreon.com/Timcast and become a patron today. There are several different tiers to choose from, most notably is Tier 1. At $10 per month, you get access to behind-the-scenes photos and videos and special commentary videos where I typically just rant about people with bad opinions, but it's all in good fun. With your support on Patreon, I can continue to do the work that I do, so it is greatly appreciated, and please consider becoming a patron at whatever level you feel comfortable today. So the article is titled, "Bill Nye Does Not Speak for Us, and He Does Not Speak for Science." By attending the State of the Union with NASA Administrator nominee Jim Bridenstine, the science guy tacitly endorses climate denial, intolerance, and attacks on science. This is an article authored by 500 women scientists. That's actually the author of this article. Now, clearly someone wrote this, but the byline is to 500 women scientists. And it opens with, "Tonight, Bill Nye the Science Guy will accompany Republican Jim Bridenstine, Trump's nominee for NASA Administrator, to the State of the Union address. Nye has said that he's accompanying the congressman to help promote space exploration since, he asserts, NASA is the best brand the United States has, and that his attendance should not be seen as an acceptance of the recent attacks on science and the scientific community." You might know that Bill Nye has a show on Netflix called Bill Nye Saves the World. And this show it's almost universally panned. It's got a 3.5 out of 10 on IMDb. It's not very popular, and a lot of people were questioning some of the things Nye was saying. But in terms of, the cultural civil war, Bill Nye is mostly aligned with the left, right? A lot of the things he believes line up with the left's view on gender and climate change and things like this. So it's not surprising now to see that by platforming or by meeting with a Republican, he's being thrown under the bus. As scientists, we cannot stand by while Nye lends our community's credibility to a man who would undermine the United States' most prominent science agency, and we cannot stand by while Nye uses his public persona as a science entertainer to support an administration that is expressly xenophobic, homophobic, misogynistic, racist, ableist, and anti-science. The true shame is that Bill Nye remains the popular face of science because he keeps himself in the public eye. To be sure, increasing the visibility of scientists in the popular media is important to strengthening public support for science. But Nye's TV persona has perpetuated the harmful stereotype that scientists are nerdy, combative white men in lab coats, a stereotype that does not comport with our lived experience as women in STEM. And he continues to wield his power recklessly, even after his recent endeavors in debate and politics have backfired spectacularly. So there's this trend. You are not allowed to hang out with those you disagree with, right? We saw this with Chelsea Manning, and we see it with people attacking me for being friends with Sandra. So now I want to do something a little different. Normally, I just, I'll do these commentary videos, but I'm here in Seattle, and I'm here with Emily, and we're going to be working on some stories. So, what's your take on this? We'll turn into a conversation now and kind of hybridize how I normally do this. Look, Chelsea Manning goes and hangs out with people, and it's like now she's being disavowed by millennial democratic socialist organizations. Bill Nye meeting with a Republican, to me, seems like the most effective way to convince Republicans to agree, right?
Yeah, I mean, even if Bill Nye is just an engineer, not an actual climate scientist, I think he's trying to do a good thing. His heart's in the right place by taking a representative who is extremely critical of Obama's climate change research and how much money they were putting in that. But I think people are kind of getting the wrong idea by him hanging out with the representative, and I don't know how else they expect somebody to change their mind other than facing them with facts.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like it's like they want these Republicans to double down their beliefs. It's like they want to make sure that even someone who agrees with them will not share these ideas with Republicans.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
But it's not even just Bill Nye. It's like politics in general right now. Because the things we're hearing, right, in this blog, it's not just that Bill Nye is supporting these ideas, it's that he's platforming. And that he's, tacitly endorsing xenophobia and homophobia and these other things.
I think it's dumb to say, by debating someone, you're platforming. And I'm sure, so maybe people gave more money to creationists or climate change deniers after the debate. But
wait, that really happened?
I think that's
what they're claiming.
One of the claims were.
Yeah.
But people are gonna still give money to science after those kinds of things as well. It's not like it's taking money away from research.
It is platforming, right? So here's the thing. Yes, Bill Nye debating someone is platforming. It's just whether or not you think it's a bad thing. Bill Nye goes and meets with a Republican he as a guest to the State of the Union, and I'm like, oh, that's my opinion is like, hey, that's really great. Because, Bill Nye will learn from the Republican will learn from Bill Nye, and maybe we can find a way to start bringing people together again. But when you see stuff like this, 500 women scientists supposedly writing this blog, it's a call for segregation. It's a call for division,
I think they make some good points in the article about Nye's representation of scientists, but I think they go a little far with saying that he shouldn't be their representative.
No, this is hilarious. Could this be the uniting force for the right and the left? Because the right doesn't like Bill Nye because he's not a scientist. And now you have the same criticism coming from the left, coming from scientists. Because finally, they're like, okay, Bill Nye said something or did something that we don't agree with. Now we're going to point out he's not a scientist anymore. I feel like people on the right are going to laugh and say, yes, we absolutely agree with you. Bill Nye should not be advocating for science.
Well, we have people who aren't politicians in places of public policy now, and that doesn't seem to make a difference to a lot of people. So
yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, you have Donald Trump he's the first president with no political or military experience, and a lot of people are like, we don't care, And then I'm not convinced Oprah is going to run, but it's the same thing. Oprah, they start acting like Oprah might run, and then people on the left are like, oh, I don't care. So.
Yeah, you can be an advocate of something without being an expert.
Yeah, but the public perception of Bill Nye is he is the science guy. He's got a second season on Netflix.
Well, yeah, he shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. And you know what? I do agree with a lot of stuff they say. Like, Bill Nye perpetuates this stereotype of this skinny, lanky, nerdy, weak, scientist.
There's definitely some not skinny, lanky, weak scientists out there who are doing great research. And
I would rather watch a science show with The Rock. Like, that would be great.
Well, I think that just goes.
He's a good dude.
That kind of just you prove the point that it doesn't matter who's giving you the information. People are gonna either watch it for whoever's presenting it or watch it for the facts.
But the thing is, people think Bill Nye's a scientist. They do.
Yeah, and he perpetuates that by wearing a lab coat.
Exactly. He wears a lab coat. He's got the bow tie. It's his character, Bill Nye the Science Guy. And look, to an extent, everyone is a scientist.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're a little kid, like, I grew up watching Bill Nye the Science Guy, and, kids don't care whether he's just an engineer or, whatever. As long as he's being entertaining and you're learning something, that's fine. But now that his audience is more than just kids, I think then you have to kind of look at the show that you're
we grew up.
Yeah.
We watched Bill Nye when we were younger.
Oh yeah, and Netflix is all about the nostalgia factor.
Right, exactly. You know what it is? It's plain and simple. The people who were shouting love for Bill Nye when his show came out, it was the left, okay? And it's because he was saying things they agreed with. The right was criticizing him, and rightly so, because he's not a scientist. But I would say most of the criticism is simply because he's saying things they disagree with. And now that Bill Nye is meeting with a Republican, which I think is a good thing. We need to bring people together. We need the left and the right to sit down and have conversations. Now that he's doing that and the left doesn't like the idea of platforming, they're going to throw him under the bus. And now we're seeing them starting to call Bill Nye not a scientist.
That's funny. I just looked up his actual title, and it's American Science Communicator, Television Presenter, and Mechanical Engineer. There's no scientist other than Science Communicator.
Science communicator.
And
So
that's an important job. Yeah, I mean, if you have a lot of people who are denying science, that's an extremely important job.
he's a comedian. Bill Nye was a comedian. That's
Yeah.
where how he got his start.
Fine. Yeah, he can do that as long as he's.
Well, it's not surprising we're here now with a blog being written, calling out. There's a bunch of stuff in here where they're basically like, we'll just read another passage. Bill Nye does not speak for us or for the members of the scientific community who have to protect not only the integrity of their research, but also their basic right to do science. We stand with others who have asked Bill Nye to not attend the State of the Union. Nye's complicity does not align him with the researchers who have a bold and progressive vision for the future of science and its role in society. At a time when our ability to do science and our ability to live freely are both under threat, our public champions and our institutions must do better. So there's a few things we can talk about here, and I wanted to do something that was, I wanted to try this, because normally I do like a direct commentary video and sometimes I do conversations. We're here in Seattle, I said let's do a little mix. But we've got this idea that you can't associate with those you disagree with, which I take offense to, because it's important if we want to learn, if we want to grow, if we want the world to be better, we need to associate with people we disagree with so we can learn. And then we have this idea that Bill Nye is somehow an expert who deserves to be preaching to us about what science should or should not be, or what science is and is not, and things like that. Bill Nye is respectable to a certain degree, because I would say more so than the average person, he does have scientific experience. But when he goes on TV and advocates for certain positions and ideas, when he is not an expert in any of these areas, it creates problems. Because then he goes on his show, the Netflix show, and that show is universally panned. It's got a 3.5 out of 10 on IMDb. People just don't like it. That's bad for science. Bill Nye is a bad representative. And look, I grew up watching Bill Nye. I loved Bill Nye, but I just don't think it works in today's political atmosphere. And now we can see at least the left and the right agreeing on something. The right says Bill Nye's not a scientist and he shouldn't be doing this, and now we have the left saying the same thing. So maybe now is the time for Bill Nye to step down, if both factions are now calling him out, saying it's just not going to work. But it's unfortunate, and it kind of depresses me that the reason for this, the only reason the left is attacking him, is because he's actually doing something good. He's trying to build bridges, and he's trying to communicate effectively, and he should not be punished for that. But let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Twitter at Timcast. Stay tuned. We're here in Seattle, and we've got a bunch of really cool stuff planned. The Amazon Go store, for one. And some, I'm not gonna name drop anybody yet, but we're gonna do some interviews with some local personalities. That's gonna be really fascinating. So thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you tomorrow at 4.